Welcome back, everyone. Today we have the Bone Bridger and John Automates joining me on a discussion about Barbie. Thank you both so much for being here today. I want to start off just by saying I think this is one of the best box offices that Hollywood's had in years, and I think that's really something to celebrate. I know we are all lovers of film, and that's really fantastic to see. I mean, astronomical numbers. I absolutely
Yeah.
love that. So but we can talk about uh Barbie, what we liked, what we didn't like, maybe how things differed for either of you from the trailer and what you got. So I don't know if either of you want to say your first impressions of what you felt about the film.
Well, I think, John, you got to start it off because the marketing. I'm interested to hear
Yeah.
what you think because there's two versions of this. There's the marketing and then there's the actual movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I am to me the movie's okay. It's not great to me. It's not bad to me, but it's also not really for me. So I guess it's not the biggest deal in the world. That being said, they absolutely lied in their marketing. And it happens. I mean, they didn't do anything that wasn't illegal. Like, today's day and age, you can actually get sued if you lie in your marketing pretty badly. But they did stuff that was in the movie. They just did stuff that was in the movie in very small subsections or very small parts and didn't really go into what the actual themes of the movie were. And they did that on purpose. And they knew. They knew. And, that's one of the reasons why Mattel was fighting so hard to kind of keep things hush hush while the actors were saying, actually, it's this. And it was going back and forth. That it's there's some things I didn't like per se. I'm not as on the train of people saying it's as balanced. I think there was a little bit of misbalance, particularly at the beginning and at the end. I think the middle is actually pretty solid, though.
So I think that going into it, I had such high expectations. And I think, Nerdy Film Girl, you and me already kind of chit chatted about this a little bit. But I went in expecting a Lego style movie that was going to be fun and have like a creative kind of twist to it because like they're clearly doing like a fantasy. And I didn't expect like the same thing, but like Will Ferrell even gave me vibes of that because he's in both. And at the beginning, I was really excited because I thought they're going to go on this journey where I thought Ken and Ryan Gosling would get a story. Like I thought it was going to be two stories. I thought it was going to be Barbie's story and Ken's story, and they were going to have their own arcs because I think there was something really special there with Ryan Gosling's performance. And the third act for me, like it's for me, the third act is where it dropped the ball. And I knew they were going to do something funny at the end. It's kind of like Ladybird. I feel like Greta Gerwig has a style where at the very end, she wants to hit you with something you really don't expect. And whereas in Ladybird, I really liked it. This movie felt like it missed the punctuation for me. That's just me, but I can get past some of the things because like you said, John, I don't think this movie was targeted at me. It's not for me. And that's another question of why isn't it? Mattel, is this what Mattel wanted?
Can I give you a little bit of a thing about that, though? I am openly able to admit that this movie is not for me.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, if you go back to the marketing, they claimed it would have been for me. And that's where I start to have a little bit of that disconnect. Just slightly. Mm. It's like, no, it's not. And that's okay. I'm more than happy to say that. But I think that the whole thing of like, it's for you. Because if you remember during the trailer, if you like Barbie, this is for you. If you don't like Barbie, this is for, they had that kind of thing going. I don't know. I don't know.
So I'll share something just real quick that really kind of blew me away. I left the theater just being like, I wish this had happened and this had happened and this.
Yeah.
But the person sitting next to me, so I was there, and on one side it was a total stranger. It was there with a bunch of people. She was having a totally different experience than I was because you could tell it was like for her. And I don't know if it was like the single nature of it, because I think she was clearly there, like a single woman there, and I think she was really connecting in a way. And so like that made me not want to like be like, oh, but then I stepped back and I'm like, but why is she connecting with it? So the Nerdy Film Girl, I was going to ask you, because I was kind of taken back. Like I'm trying to be understanding of why someone would connect, but for me the story just doesn't land. At the end, it just doesn't have that emotional, kind of moment. Whereas I thought it would, because, you get hints of that with like the old lady at the beginning. Like they try to have this like Anyway, I was wondering what you think. Why do some people connect with this on a deeper level, or it seems they do?
Um, that's a really tough thing to answer because everything you guys have been talking about, that end was incredibly problematic to me. People complain about feminism messages, and it's because I really think at the end of the day, they don't realize that feminism is really equal, right? Equality with women and men. This movie also did not make that message clear, because at the very end, if you had
Hmm.
Ken able to join them, be more respected in Barbie Land, that's feminism, not well, men are just terrible, and like, screw them, they're not gonna have any opinions ever again. That was a catastrophe. Like, that was just so horrible to me, and I think that that's what gives feminism, in quotations, a bad name. And I really think that they destroyed everything they did perfectly fine, throughout the film, because of that end. I don't know if maybe it is just making a few people happy at that with that end, but I don't really think. I don't know. I could get kind of, you know what I'm saying, but
No, I feel you on that.
yeah.
That's yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, to piggyback, I think not only are you correct on that assertion, I think this film, and I've had a big issue with the culture war, and I've had a big issue with the gender divide, and we've had that for a little while, but for the last like 3-4 years especially, there's just been a huge like back and forth when it comes to media. And I thought this movie would have had the greatest chance to like take that and throw that out and actually make a message of, we actually do need to work together if you really, really think about it. And I
Yes.
thought it was going to go there for a quick second. In the middle, there's certain scenes where I'm like, oh, okay, so they are going to go into that. But then when Ken discovers the patriarchy, and even then, even when he discovered it, I was like, okay, well, maybe he's going to kind of realize that this isn't actually the way. And that didn't happen either, as we saw when they get back to Barbie. It gets kind of weird. It's like you had the ability to tell a story that we all need each other, which is what we actually do. Because if you go by the new wave stuff, that's not going to work.
No.
Right. It felt divisive on purpose for the sake of being divisive, not for the sake of the story, not for the sake of the audience. It felt like it was a moment that didn't belong in a movie. Just like, regardless of what it was, it just felt weird at the end. And instead, how does Ken's ending, like, they're excited about this unequal way of doing things, and even the narrator is like self-aware of that, like makes the comment. And that's where it kind of really lost me. It was like, you had such potential. You had great casting for the guys
Really
and the
great.
girls, and you just, at the end, it just didn't have the ending it deserved. And the comedic part of the ending, I realized in that moment, like, I had been duped. Like the very last line, as much as I wanted to like laugh and be like, wow, that's a crazy way to end a movie, it was that, and it replaced any kind of emotional ending where it was like, look what happened. Like, and the whole message of like the dolls and Barbies, I don't know about you guys, but I just felt like, if I'm Mattel, no matter how much money this makes at a box office, this is not good. Like, this, if you're Mattel and you're trying to sell toys, like, if that's your real goal, how is this helping? I don't see that happening. Like, if anything, now you've divided people in a way where,
I mean, maybe I have this question. Nerdy Film Girl, Ryan Gosling. This is another reason why I had a little bit of an issue with the ending. You have a situation where you could take, and I believe, and maybe you two might feel differently, but I think you feel the same. I believe Ryan Gosling is the best part of this movie.
Oh yeah.
And it's not even close.
No.
And so you have a situation where you have this thing where even guys could kind of get behind the theory of what Ryan Gosling's going through, and the back and forth. Why did you not use him as a vessel to then get the actual feminism, the first wave feminism of equality out? You could have gotten it out through him, using him as the vessel to showcase, like, oh yeah, we need to work together. But instead, the whole like, oh well, you're all dumb, we're gonna make you fight at the beach, and yeah, they realize at the end that they've treated him poorly, but nothing actually changes. So why would you do that when you had the talent of Ryan Gosling? Why didn't they write him I don't know. That's do you feel that way? Do you feel like Ryan was the show stealer and that he could have been used a little bit better?
Yeah, and that's really like spot on because and Bone Bridger and I talked about this a little bit, that I do think it was really smart to have him be an afterthought, because that is how little girls think about Ken. You don't really play with Ken that much, but like
Right.
he's there. You need to have a boyfriend for Barbie. But then, Barbie then is like leaving at the end to go to the real world, like for good. And Ken's not allowed to do anything in Barbie Land that's worth anything substantial. And what is he going to do now? Like what's Ken going to do? And it's like, it's very, I said this in my review, that whole thing was just so uncomfortable to me, how they mishandled his character. And you're right, it could have elevated the messaging much further and much better.
Right. They introduce his character so well. Like, I
Right,
love the
they
idea
do.
that he's like he is just he has no purpose really. Like, what is his purpose? Because as much as Ken is just the boyfriend for Barbie, like, he's aware that that's all he is. And I think they should have used that and like created a problem for him to fix at the end. Like, in the beginning, first act, set something up where Ken's going to be needed for something at the end. Like, he's going to discover something he'd be interested in. It's like they did the horses thing, and it was like just to be funny, when you could have done something that would have been like actually kind of like interesting to do, especially if they live in a fake toy world. There's so much you could have done to create like problems in the fake toy world. Like, it's
There's
fantasy.
also this
You could have done
problem.
anything.
Off of that point, there's this problem I have with it too, and I don't know if either one of you agree. When Ken discovers the patriarchy system and he brings it back with him, why do all of a sudden all of the Barbies become all of these random submissive roles when it's like the matriarchal society, technically based off of how things were going, that's supposed to be a near perfect society based off of how they have it in the Toyland. Why now would it just automatically, that shouldn't have happened? And so then it speaks to an issue of like, well, men could just take over at any given time. And if that's the case, why not use Ryan Gosling's character to be like realizing after he does it, like, actually, this isn't the way. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Right. Things should have turned bad almost. Like, it should have like turned it into like a degenerate society.
Yeah, and this there should have been a realization, but instead they give the realization to Barbie, but she never needed that realization, so it doesn't progress her character in any real way. Where it could have progressed his character. And I get the whole afterthought process, but that would have made sense, right? So you have somebody who isn't considered to be a main portion, but can still help you out regardless. Whereas it's like, oh no, this person is, and it reinforces the idea that we can only do all this stuff by ourselves. I'm not so sure that's I don't know. That's not really what the movie wants to get across. And we know that because that's what Greta Gerwig has said, but that's what the movie seemingly pushes.
Yeah.
No villain either, right? Like, no necessary adversary.
Ken's the villain. The patriarchy system is the villain. Mattel, the bosses at Mattel are the villains.
Yeah.
It's just men.
The company that paid for the movie are the bad guys.
I mean, see the Matrix and how they treated WB. I mean, it's I just don't know if that was the best. I think it could have been so much deeper of a storyline instead of the whole women are perfect, men are evil, because that's too simple.
It's way too simple.
And I think that it dumbs down the audience. And that's a movie where, imagine if you had a movie like Barbie, which is a simple toy, but it was smart in its approach. I don't know.
Yeah, it's almost like the you needed oh my god, what is his name? From Idiocracy and Beavis and Butthead. Mike Judd. I feel like he could have done a really great script for this, actually. Dealing with those types of concepts. It was definitely pretty much all over the place when it came to that. And I the horse thing is interesting that you guys brought up, because actually Movie Cynic, friend of the channel, posted his review earlier today, and he showed the interview of where Greta Gerwig discusses why Ryan Gosling's Ken is obsessed with horses, and her response was really just like very flat. Like my whole take on it was the fact that Barbie's had horses like for decades. There's like Barbie movies with horses and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, well, that's just Ken being jealous the whole time that he never got to have a horse. So now he's like, oh, I can have horses in the real world. And I thought that was it. And she just said, because horses are on a lot of statues of people that we think are, historical figures or whatever. So he couldn't tell the difference and think maybe horses are running things in the real world. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
That's such a cop out.
What?
That's not something you would expect from Greta Gerwig. I don't understand. I don't know if that was like, and I know she wrote this with Noah Baumbach, right? Who I think is that's her husband or partner or somebody, right?
Yes, yes.
So, and it's like, did you write anything in here, or did you just give it to her and you were kind of a credit because you did like some editing? It's like, what actually, because that was such a weird, I saw that interview. That's so weird. Why?
I agree with you. Yes. And that's a great example because, if you watch a film like Marriage Story that Noah Baumbach wrote and directed, that is a very good example of both sides of a divorce and both pros and cons of both men and women.
That is a good point. That's a really good point.
So, right. What was this then? I don't get it.
Well, so, and I, for the record, love Ladybird. I think it's one of the best written screenplays of all time. But it is in that style that doesn't work for a movie like this, where you need both sides. It is a one-way trip down one person's point of view, and I felt like we got a Greta Gerwig self-insert storyline where at the end she just said, "What would I do? Okay, I'm gonna have my speech. That's gonna be the defining moment of the film, and then we're just gonna end the film." And I'm going to do something funny, but there's going to be no wrap up for these characters. Alan could have been really interesting. They went from he's trapped in this fantasy world, he's willing to fight every kid on earth to escape, to that's it, that wasted. They wasted him so bad. They could have had him be like sentient, where he's aware of how stupid Fantasyland is, talking about how, they wasted him so bad. I was so angry because I was like, okay, this is going to be cool. Like it started going a certain way. Nope.
Oh, yeah.
Also, and while there are some very clear self-inserts, is it real? That's the thing. Why, if you're going to do a self-insert, at least make it real. This is a problem people had with, I don't mean to rile up this crowd, but this is a problem people had with like Beyonce. Or with Sierra, people like that, where they would release these songs geared towards like the whole singlehood and all that stuff like that, and then go back to their husbands who are like super rich and successful and all that stuff like that. And certain people, I remember seeing a lot of threads about it. People had a problem with that. Most recently, that's been a real big problem, where people are like, so you're basically lying. You're giving a song for us to consume that isn't really reflective of how you actually are, live, think. And if that's the case, then technically Greta Gerwig's not being truthful here. And that's where there was a lot of opportunity lost. Because imagine if, again, at the end, if they could have come together, that's more indicative of what her life is, especially if you consider her early days of Noah and how that came together. So I don't know. There's a big what if that I have with this movie, where I think there was so many opportunities. Is it a bad movie? No, but there were a lot of opportunities that could have really pushed things forward. Now, if they end up doing a Ken spinoff, then maybe this whole thing is a moot point. But as of now,
that was my next question. Do you guys think that's gonna happen? But
I think
I
so.
don't know. You think so?
Ryan Gosling, he's the best part of this movie.
Yeah.
Right. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, if he's on board, they'll do it. I mean, I guess it really just comes down to him. Yeah. If he's willing to do it, they'll do it. They would have to be very careful about who directed it and how they approached it.
Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah.
That would be
I don't think Greta's going to do another one. That would be.
Yeah, because she's already signed on to do Narnia with Netflix. So, I mean, that's going to take her off the table for years.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But what would a Ken movie look like? After seeing what Barbie has been, what would a Ken movie look like?
See, I don't know,
because now that is that question, I guess, that I brought up earlier, because Barbie left to go to the real world, so it's literally Barbie Land without the main Barbie. So I have, that's a really great question.
Yeah.
And is this like a Venom Craven situation? Hey, we have these villains, but there's no Spider-Man. Like, is it that kind of thing? Or does Ryan Gosling, who is a draw, is a movie star, can he bring it in? But then even more so, what's that story? Is that story like a, hey, you've been a loser your whole life and now this is how you get better, you become assertive? Is it gonna actually allow you to be a dude, or is it gonna allow you to, like, oh, you know, what does that look like? Do you become a servant? What's happening here? That's where I think they would have trouble with that spinoff, writing a capable story, especially after what we saw with Barbie.
Yeah. I think that this Mattel, where this is going to backfire, I think, is Mattel had the chance to create a very interesting world for their toys, where all their toys were alive, and they could play off of it and like pull, like, there's Barbie world and then there's this world, because they want to do all these movies. They've announced like 500 projects literally for shows and movies.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, well, you missed your chance. That was it.
80% of those.
Yeah. They're getting canceled as we speak, I bet. But to be fair, either way, this is the greatest marketing I've seen in terms of getting people in the door. Whether or not it sustains after weeks and weeks, I mean, 370 million worldwide opening weekend international. That's crazy.
No, this is by far the best marketing of the year. I know some people would say Sound of Freedom, but that's a different kind of marketing. In terms of actual film marketing, Barbie by far has done the best.
Intentional strategy,
yeah.
Yeah, and I got to tell you guys, I wanted to go, but I couldn't because it's like sold out reservation wise for the next month. But they do have a pop-up Barbie like bar cafe restaurant type of thing in like Lower Manhattan, and I was like, oh, that'd be fun to do in between Oppenheimer and Barbie. And I went online to make a reservation or whatever, and it was like for the next 6 weeks completely sold out.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can believe that.
Yeah. So it's going to make money, and it's going to keep making money.
Yeah.
It's just, it could have been something more. And I think that's what I keep going back to is I could have left the theater being wowed and won over. And instead I left the theater saying it's not for me, you know, which I was open-minded. I wanted to like it.
I mean, definitely was.
Now, do you guys think that if Ken had a better ending, that it would have felt more for you?
Yes. I would have been more on board. If he got like a legit story arc where he went from like the dumb, naive, I don't know who I am, I have no place in the world, to this is what I could be, that would have been interesting.
Yeah,
well,
I agree.
Listen to what you just said. If he found purpose, which is usually what guys need to do. The guys need to find purpose. And if he finds purpose while not taking away from the Barbies. So now,
that's all I wanted.
Purpose. Now we can make this whole place a lot better. You know what I'm saying? But they don't ever.
I can't. What's sad to me is I can't leave the theater as a guy and not think it's divisive, and it's aimed. Not only is it not for me, I felt like at the end they don't want me to watch this.
I agree.
Like they truly don't want my money. They don't want me to be a part of this world, and that's a different kind of conversation that I think that Mattel definitely doesn't want that, because I don't know. I'm gonna remember Mattel when I go to buy things, and I'm gonna look at the brands, and I may just be like, this is that. Yeah. You know, which one am I gonna spend money on? It'll affect how I spend money, and it shouldn't have. I'm not that person. Like, it should not have targeted me like that.
I know, and it is such a shame, because all the props and the set, I mean, everything was so well done. When it was really well done.
Choreography was good. It felt very real in terms of the filming. Yep.
Even the camera work and the directing, I have to give it to her. Like on that, like I think that was really well done. And it's just this script. Oh my God. No. So yeah. Well, I mean, thank you guys so much for stopping by and chatting about Barbie with me. I hope everyone that's watching this checks out both Bromebridger and John Automate's channels. I do a live stream with them every Thursday between 11:30 and like 1:30. Depends on how long we go. Yeah.
If I get super chats, we're not stopping. We're gonna go forever.
Yes. So definitely put a bunch of super chats the next time we're live streaming. And again, thank you so much. And I'll see you guys all next time. And thanks. Yeah.
Thanks.